And today I am going to show you how I made a card with the awesome new Bauble Blooms stamp set bundle. This is one of the bundles that's going to be available to order starting on the oh, I'm sorry. My husband, of course, is printing documents. I don't know for sure why, but there's always something going on in the background here. So I may have to hop up and turn off the printer if the printing continues throughout the entire video here. So just going to move my camera down a little bit and hopefully get things on here a little bit straighter. So thanks so much for being here today. So this is the card we're making today. It's actually a fun fold design. And yeah, the Bauble Blooms will be available to order on the online exclusives starting on the 1st of July. I almost said July 4th, on July 1st. And so it's a fun new Christmas one. So if you're looking to do some Christmas in July type cards, I'm trying to get a little bit of a head start. I know it's way early for Christmas, but I'm trying to get a little bit of a head start because it's always kind of that panic at the end of the year when I'm trying to get a huge pile of cards made. So, so I see Karen and Sally and Carol and Tina and Mario and Barbara. Karen, Carol, and yeah, Kathy, thanks for hopping in. So I did do a fun fold, and it's a super easy one. And actually, I totally copied a design that Stampin' Up actually did at their event over the last weekend. They had an event called Creativity Now for demonstrators. They made it with totally different paper and different products, but I just swiped the idea and kind of made it my own. So hopefully you all will like it. So all right, again, Bauble Blooms is the name of the stamp set. It is a pretty one. It's available to order again starting on the 4th. I keep saying the 4th of July. Apparently that holiday's in my head. The 1st of July, this will be available to order. And it is bundled together with some dies. And they're pretty, just kind of a basic die set. You've got the one that'll cut out the ornaments, two different options for ornament caps. One of them you can stamp and die cut. The other one you can just die cut. And then there's a little die that will cut the bow, as well as there's sort of there's like a greenery and then a floral piece here. So this die will cut out the florally pieces if you stamp those. And of course, I'm not going to be able to get it set on here right, but it will cut the floral piece. Oh, because it's it's much smaller on. I'm like, why isn't this working at all? Oh yeah, because it's a lot smaller on the cover of the case than it is actually in person. So you can cut out the floral stamped image and layer the pieces over the top if you want to do that. So you can make it all sorts of different ways. So again, Bauble Blooms is the name of this one, and it'll be available in the online exclusives on July 4th. See, I did it again. The July online exclusives, we'll just say it. All right, one thing that I did use on this card is I also used one of the Stylish Shapes dies, and it's the third from the smallest circle die, and I used that to cut out my sentiment. And the card actually, it's a little belly band here, and then it opens like this. So the card base is actually designer series paper, which is a little different than what I normally do. So this, the way that this is cut, it's a little bit narrower than a normal card base would be, but it's 4 inches wide, so you can get 3 of them out of one sheet of designer series paper if you want to make this card again. So which is kind of nice when you're making batches for Christmas that you can get 3 of them out of one sheet. And I will hopefully get this slid back on here. There, belly band slides right back over it. Yeah, that's all there is to it. So it's pretty quick and easy. A couple things before we get going. Don't forget the buy one, get one 50% off sale from Stampin' Up! Is going on right now through the end of June. So you've only got a couple more days, and it's buy one, get one 50% off all sweets or sweet products. So there's a list out on the Stampin' Up! Website. If you go out there, you can look at the list. Just be aware that the lowest price product is going to be your half price one. So just be aware of that as you're putting your order together. And if you have questions about it, let me know. All right. Hey, Karen and Deb and Joanne and Marilyn, thanks everybody for hopping in. Speaking of the online exclusives, just want to remind you every time you're out on the Stampin' Up! Website, take a peek at those online exclusives. Things kind of come and go from the online exclusives, so there's no guarantee that it'll be there next time when you go looking. So if you see something out there that you love, just go grab it. Again, this is a very small sampling. The ones on this side are items that are available to order now. Ones on this side are items that are coming on July 1st. So yeah, just make sure anytime you're out there looking, you're checking out those online exclusives too. So, because there are tons of them out there, and actually there are many that I love more than I love things in the catalog. So, all right. Last thing, don't forget about the virtual album retreat. If you are a scrapbooker or would like to get into scrapbooking, Stampin' Up! Has put together a virtual retreat that will make it really easy for you. The kit is $250 and it includes all the products that you need to make 12 two-page spreads for scrapbooking, which these are the spreads that you're going to be making, and they're very cute. And and you also get to attend the retreat, which is going to be on Facebook. They're doing video type retreat for that weekend. So July 16th to the 18th is when the retreat is happening. If you're not able to make it live, there will be a recording of it, so you can watch it a little bit later as well. Let me know if you have questions about that, but let's get going. All right. It's chilly in New Jersey too. I stepped out, of course, thinking it's summertime, and I stepped out in shorts and a t-shirt. I'm like, man, it's cold out here. What happened? Because it was like 90 degrees yesterday. So, all right. I started with a piece of designer series paper from the Season of Elegance specialty designer series paper. And what makes it specialty is it's got the gold foiling built into it. This is cut to 4 inches wide by 12 inches long. So again, you'll be able to get 3 of these card bases out of a single sheet of designer series paper. So you just want to pick one that matches your theme or is going to look pretty when you cut it all up. The only thing to be aware of is that this is one of those card bases that if you have directional designer series paper, you may end up with it not looking the way that you want it to. So if it's something, for instance, that's printed all in rows all the way down, and it's, an image that obviously has a right side up and an upside down, you're going to have half of it that'll be upside down and half of it that'll be right side up if you fold it this way. So anyway, just something to think about when you're picking your designer series paper. So, all right, again, 4 inches wide by 12 inches, and then you score it at 2 inches, and again at 7.5 inches. So that is the card base. Inside the card, we've got a couple pieces. This is basic white cardstock, and it is about 3 5/8 by 5 1/8. So again, a little bit narrower, but the same height as a typical inside of my card would be. And we're just going to stamp some sentiments on it. If I can find all my sentiments, that is. I kind of got them all over and all sorts of backwards on this because I'm building from the inside out, which is not what I normally do. All right, so we've got Cherry Cobbler and Old Olive as my 2 inks on here. And we are going to use from the Bauble Blooms stamp set. There's one stamp that says Wishing You A. So we're going to ink that one up. And we're going to stamp that here on the basic white cardstock. And then we'll pull out Cherry Cobbler. And then there is a Merry and a Christmas. And we're just going to stamp the Merry. And then the Christmas. And hopefully I'll get these fairly straight. And if not, oh well, it's handmade. So there you go. All right, closing that up. And then I've got a little piece of, this is the Regal Distressed Patterns specialty paper. And this again is another one that's got the gold foiling in it. So that's why it's a specialty paper. We're just going to adhere that across the bottom of the basic white panel. And this is way longer than it needs to be, but as I always say, it's always easier to trim things down than it is to try to add to it. So I usually try to make it be a little bit longer so that I've got a little more wiggle room here as I'm putting things together. Oop, I want to wiggle that down, definitely. Try not to get the white cardstock showing at the bottom. And then we're just going to trim off the extra. So, hey, Susan, thanks for hopping in. I appreciate you being here. There we go. All right. Then we're going to take that and we're going to adhere it to a piece of Cherry Cobbler cardstock. And this measures about 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. So again, about 1/4 inch narrower than I normally would have it, but same height. So 5 1/4 by 3 3/4. And all the measurements for this are going to be out on my blog tomorrow, which is stampwithamyk.com. And I'll link directly to the blog post so you'll be able to go out there and find the printable PDF tutorial, as well as all the measurements and all that good stuff that so that you can make this card too. All right. Just adhering this together with a little Stampin' Seal. And the only reason that I double layered this is just because the designer series paper is thinner than our regular card bases. So I wanted to make sure that the card had a nice feel to it and wasn't like floppy and whatever. So that's why I did the double layer. If you don't like the double layer look or don't want to do that, you certainly don't have to. But I just thought it added a little bit of extra like oomph to the card base so it didn't feel quite so thin. All right, taking this and then we are adhering this inside the card base. Again, my 2 inch score line is up here, 7.5 inch score line is down here. I know you probably can't see that in the video, but I'm just aiming for getting it centered between the two score lines. and centered side to side. So there we go. Got that stuck together, and that is essentially the card base. So we're going to fold up the bottom, give it a little crease here with the bone folder, and then fold the top closed as well. And just making sure that everything is lined up nicely. And that's it for the card base. So super quick and easy. And it's a fun fold. So, all right. Next thing that I did was I grabbed a piece of, again, this is the Regal Distressed Patterns specialty paper, and I cut about a 2-inch wide strip. And again, it's, you know, got the pretty little foiling on it, and actually it matched quite nicely, which I was kind of surprised because sometimes when I try to mix and match patterns of paper, I don't do as well. All right, so I'm just going to take this and I'm going to fold it kind of loosely around my card base. Pull up the bottom here. And I don't want it to be too tight, but I also don't want it to be falling off of it. So I'm just kind of using my, you know, kind of just feeling here a little bit, trying to figure out where the best spot is to crease it. And I'm doing this. And actually, when I make the belly bands like this, I usually never pre-score anything, just because if you score it, you'll score it on the exact line that you do these, and then it's going to be too tight. Or if you go 1/8 of an inch wider, then it's too big. So it's actually pretty easy just to wrap it around and then fold it like that. So, all right, gonna grab a little Stampin' Seal here, and we're gonna put a little bit on this end and a little bit on the other end so that the pieces will stay together, stuck together really nicely, and hopefully won't come apart, and you won't have any kind of rough edges that catch when you're sliding the belly band on and off the card base. So there we go. You just want to make sure that you can still move it around like that. You want it to, you don't want it to be too loose, but you also don't want it to be super tight, and then people are tearing it apart to get into it. All right. Next up, I did one of these ahead of time, but it's the same process, so I will walk you through the second one here as I'm making it. And I've got basic white cardstock, and we're going to start by stamping. This is like the greenery image. Let me pull the stamp set back in. You probably can't even see it. So this is the image we're going to stamp first. I found it easier to stamp it that way. If you like stamping it the other way, you can stamp it however it's easiest for you. But for me, it was easier to stamp the greenery first. And again, we're just going back to the old olive ink pad. And we're going to stamp this here on the basic white cardstock. One thing to know about this stamp set is the Bauble die cut does have a fairly wide border around it, so just don't stamp it too close to the edge of your paper, or you're going to be flipping it over and stamping it again. Again, ask me how I know these things. Yeah, because I did it that way. So, all right, going to grab cherry cobbler cardstock next, and we want the lined image here. The only thing is I need to make sure, that's the wrong way around, so this is the right way around. We're going to ink this up with cherry cobbler ink, and again, this is the lined image from the Bauble and Blooms stamp set. And I'm just going to generally, the couple things to line up is, I don't know if you can see, there's a very small little green dot down here underneath the little V. So I'm going to line up my red dot right over the top of that, and then line up the 2 flowers in the openings in here. And hopefully that'll get everything stamped on here straight. So there we go. Did a reasonably good job. And then I've got the other image, which is the fill-in one, and I better move that before I end up sticking something on top of it that I shouldn't. We're just going to ink up the fill-in image, stamp it on scrap paper, and then do the same thing. We're just going to line up the floral images, line up that little dot down there at the bottom. And there we go. We got our little fill-in images stamped as well. All right, next up, we're going to do some die cutting. Ooh, hopefully. There's my die set. And like I said, when you'll see what I mean, there's kind of a big space around the edge of it. Just be aware of that as you are doing your stamping to make sure that you get it placed on your cardstock correctly. And I actually got up closer to the top than I intended to be, but it's still going to work. So we are going to go with it. I'm going to go die cut this. I'll be right back. All right. Whoop. All right, so there's my die cut ornament. Get that out of the way, get that out of the way. Find my die cut pieces here. And then from gold foil sheets ahead of time, I went ahead and cut one of these not stamped ornament tops or ornament caps, whatever you want to call it. So just die cutting this from gold foil sheets. And I'm going to grab some Stampin' Dimensionals. Oh, I realized I forgot to stamp my bow. Eek. I don't even, oh, I did put it on a block. So I'll have to go back and do a little more die cutting because I was feeling like there was something else I was supposed to be doing. And yeah, that was the bow die cutting. All right, so I got a couple little glue dots on the back of here. And then we're just going to take this and line it up on the top of the ornament. Before I smush it down, just want to take a quick peek and make sure that everything is lined up the way I want it to be. And there we go. We've got our little ornament cap on here. Then I'm going to go back to my piece of basic white cardstock and bring the cherry cobbler ink pad out again. And then we're going to stamp the little bow image in cherry cobbler ink. All right. Hey, Jackie, thanks for hopping in. And I'm glad y'all are liking this card. Like I said, it's really quick and easy. So, all right, as long as you don't forget to stamp stuff. So now I'm going to grab my little bow die and we're going to go run this through the die cutting machine. Hang on. And there's our little die cut bow. And we're also going to use glue dots to stick that on. So, all right, just going to take one and sort of stick it off to the side. If you get it in the center and it hangs over a little bit, you can always kind of just roll the glue dot back on itself. That's what I usually do when I'm putting my glue dots on things when it's questionable whether it's going to fit on there perfectly or not. Then I'm just going to take this and stick it here to the top of the ornament, just like that. So, hey, from hot and humid, like I said, we all of a sudden got really cold here in New Jersey. It's been freezing. Today it's really cold here. Well, I shouldn't say really cold. Cold, I guess, is one of those relative terms, but it's definitely much cooler here than it has been. All right, so I'm going to grab some glue dots here, and I'm going to stick them on the back of one of the ornaments. I am going to be careful, though, to not stick them over on this edge. I want to keep them so that the ornament will be stuck to the belly band and not to the actual card front, because that would be very bad. Well, it wouldn't be very bad, but you'd definitely be destroying the card when you went to open it the first time. So, all right, taking this little ornament, sticking that here on the top part, and then we're going to take this ornament and use some Stampin' Dimensionals. So again, I'm going to do the same thing. Got this on here, so I'm going to flip it over and make sure that I end up with dimensionals stuck in the spots where I want them to be, which is on the left-hand side of the ornament. And these are my little half dimensionals. If you like your whole ones, you can use whole ones. If you want to use minis, you can use minis. So it's cold, definitely cold here compared to Monday and Tuesday. My goodness, it was like 100 degrees or some crazy thing here. And now I think we're not even at 70 today, so it's freezing. So, or maybe I just underdressed for it, whatever. All right, so I'm going to take this one and we're going to stick it on here, kind of tilted to the other direction. Almost done with the belly band, just need to get our sentiment put on there. So colder in Maryland after the storm. Yeah, we had a big storm that came through here too, and the same thing where it kind of, all of a sudden it got much cooler. So, all right, got a sentiment for the front. It says joyous wishes to you and yours, and I've got Versamark ink, and this is actually Mossy Meadow. I know it's hard to tell the difference between the greens, but it's a shade darker than the old olive is, but I like the way it kind of was a little more contrast with the paper, so that's why I went with this color. Going to ink it up with Versamark ink, and we're going to heat emboss the sentiment in gold embossing powder. All right, get this out of the way. The gold embossing powders from the Metallics Wow Embossing Powders pack. So it's a 3-pack for the metallics. It is copper, silver, and gold, and you get all 3 of them when you order it. So there we go. I'm just going to grab my heat tool. Oh, I banged into the camera stand, sorry, after I did that. Goodness. All right, grab the heat tool here, and we'll get that turned on. So the Stampin' Up! Heat tool has 2 settings on it. There's a level 1 setting for drying. So if you're doing something like watercoloring and want to speed up the process a little bit for drying, you can use the level 1 setting. And the level 2 setting is for heat embossing, but it does take just a second to heat up. It gets a little warmer. Both of them are plenty warm, but it gets a little bit warmer when you turn it on the level 2 setting. So it's designed for heat embossing. So let me turn this towards the project and see if we can get this to start embossing yet. All right, there we go. It's starting to turn that's shiny and smooth, and that's when you know that it's done. You want to keep it moving so you don't accidentally burn your embossing powder, because it gets real dull and not very pretty when you do that. But all right, so there you go. Got this done. I'm just going to give it a second to cool off before I die cut it, because you can also smear your embossing powder if it's too warm yet. All right, we're going to grab the third from the smallest of the circle dies from the Stylish Shapes dies, and it will fit almost perfectly right around this little sentiment. So I'm going to run this through the die cutting machine. I'll be right back. All right. There we go. I'll get this out of the way. Whoa, now I'm crashing into the lights. So, I don't know, one of those things. All right, I'm going to use, you can either use Stampin' Seal or glue dots to adhere this sentiment on. And again, you want to make sure, originally I went to grab my dimensionals, and I'm like, oh wait, I don't want dimensionals under there because it'll stick it to the card front. So I want to make sure that I have got my glue dots in the spot where I want them to be, so that it sticks to the ornament and not to the card front. So again, you're trying to keep everything on the belly band so that you don't accidentally stick your card shut. So, all right, got a couple. I think we'll call that good for the glue dots. And then we're just going to take this and stick it right over the top, kind of layer it over the top of the ornaments here. There we go. Sticking that down. And then the last thing for the card, actually we're going to be done here in like 2 seconds, is the flower accents. And I know that these are currently on back order. They're supposed to be restocking around Monday, June 30th, I think is when they're supposed to be back in stock. So hopefully they will show up again. But I thought it's kind of a brighter gold than some of our other embellishments are. So I thought it matched nicely with the paper and with the ornaments. And I just put 2 of them on. If you are a person who likes to do your embellishments in 3s, you can certainly do them in 3s. But I thought it looked nice with 2. Again, everybody has their own way of doing it. So there you go. So that is it. Quick and easy. And again, you can get 3 of these card bases out of 1 sheet of designer series paper. So if you want to do something a little different that's still really quick and easy for the holidays, definitely grab this stamp set. Again, it's called Bauble Blooms, and it'll be available to order starting on the 1st of July. And again, if you miss the beginning of it, there's a little belly band on here, and then it opens up, and this is the inside of the card. So super quick and easy to put together, and I think really pretty. So there you go. Again, if you have any questions about this, let me know. I will be posting all the details on my blog tomorrow, which is stampwithamyk.com, and I will link directly to the blog post once it goes live around 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. So thanks everybody for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I will plan to be live around 2 o'clock Eastern time on Tuesday, and again around 2 o'clock Eastern time next week Tuesday. So we'll plan to see you all then.